The human being is both a spiritual reality and a corporeal reality, an animal and a person. How should we make sense of that philosophically and theologically? Ancient philosophers like Aristotle and Plato noted that the body of the human person is naturally mortal, is subject to dissolution and corruption. But the soul is naturally immortal, or, technically speaking, subsistent. It's an immaterial principle that can survive death because it's characterized by immaterial operations of knowing and free will, loving. Now, the Catholic theological tradition teaches, based on Scripture, that the original project of God was a project of unity in which the human being would be a composite of body and soul. I'm neither my soul nor my body, but I'm a unified being, body and soul. And this composite of body and soul has its place in a larger hierarchical structure of being. And in that hierarchy below us, there are the plants, the animals, and below them, the non-living things that support living realities. And above us, there are the angels, which are immaterial spirits. If you think about it this way, we're sort of a reality in the middle between the visible world, the living world on the one hand below us, and then the living spiritual world without bodies above us, the angelic world. We're a bridge between the visible and the invisible. And the Catholic tradition teaches that our soul was created in a state of grace so that we could be submitted to God in spiritual knowledge and adoration of who God is, a kind of friendship with God, and that this would reverberate upon our perishable body to preserve it from death by a special grace or gift, so that we could live in a unified way as a spiritualized animal. You might say it this way: the original plan for the cosmos in this vision is that we should be so irradiated by grace in the higher life of our soul that it would have an effect upon our body, and the material world would show forth with the spiritual life of grace. A kind of transformation would occur gradually, by which our body could become, without ceasing to be material, spiritualized. So the human being, in fact, forfeited this grace. That's the teaching on original sin. We lost our original unity of grace, soul, body, life with God, life with each other in harmony. As a result, our soul lost the privilege of being friends with God by grace, and our body ceased to be submitted to the soul in a perfect equanimity. And so we fell into, you might say, the state of death, or reversion to the state of mortality, where our human nature was no longer preserved in unity of body and soul. In our current state, we're mortal, of course, and the philosophers are right. We have an immaterial principle, the soul, characterized by acts of knowledge and love, and in virtue of that, we're able to know the world in universal ways and examine causes of things and express ourselves through language and create art, because we are spiritual beings in the body, and at the same time we have a body that is subject to mortality. But in our current state, we can also be enlightened now and strengthened by the grace of Christ. Christ is God who has become human and taken upon himself our natural human form of body and soul. In fact, he took upon himself a mortal body, and suffering death in the body, he has transformed our life in the body through the glory of the resurrection. And in communicating grace to us, already in this life, Christ allows us to live of the glory of his resurrection in our spiritual soul, the mystery of the transformation of the soul, restored to friendship with God by grace. And he invites us to eventual transformation of our bodies in the mystery of the resurrection. What we see in the mystery of Christ and the Virgin Mary is something new, a new Adam and a new Eve, but we also see a reflection of something of the original plan of God, that the spiritual life could transform the body in such a way that our body could shine forth with the glory of God in this world. You might think about it this way: just as in a Eucharistic monstrance, you have the Eucharistic species in the center, in which we have the presence of God and the presence of the humanity of Jesus in a sacramental mode. And then you have the whole encasing, the beautiful encasing of the monstrance, which accompanies that real presence of Christ among us. So in a certain way, in the resurrection of Christ, The cosmos is like a monstrance in which the resurrected presence of Christ, who is God and man, is given to us, surrounded, as it were, by the beauty of the cosmos that is to be remade, that is to be recreated in such a way as to shine forth in the end with the glory of God. And our human body, now subject to death and suffering and all kinds of labors, is to be remade by God in such a way as to be, in a way, the spiritual monstrance of God. Our souls will look upon Christ and be illuminated by Christ. Our souls illuminated by Christ will transform our bodies in the resurrection. And our bodies, transformed by the light of Christ and the splendor of God, will be a kind of living monstrance of adoration and praise that give expression to the presence of the glory of God in our physical cosmos. So it's a beautiful idea in Christianity that, in a certain sense, the resurrection is cosmic in its significance. And at the center of the cosmos is the human body, capable of being transformed by the human soul. The human soul is capable of being transformed by God.